Hello, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Professor, a crowd-driven feature. We rely on you for the questions, we rely on you for the funding that makes it possible for us to do our work, so please visit my website, that's www.johnrobson.ca, make a monthly pledge and support if you haven't already, and also send us questions. We are eager to hear from you, anything from political philosophy to current events, to theories of history, principles of economics, culture, all those things that concern us in our lives together as Canadian citizens.
All right, here's Laurel with a question about sometimes writing in elections and writing where the race is actually very close. And she's asking whether it would be at all useful to have the opportunity to identify a second choice to be counted as half a vote in a case where, for instance, the result is determined by a margin of, say, 3% or less.
Well, I like the half a vote. I mean, it's an interesting refinement because people do have this idea amongst the alphabet soup of electoral reform proposals is the transferable ballot, where you count all the votes and then you drop out one or two at the candidates at the bottom. And voters having indicated, if I don't get my first choice, use my second choice, then you retally those votes. But I'm a bit of a purist here. It seems to me that voting is an imperfect method of gauging community opinion. But we have, since Simon de Montfort's model parliament in 1265, the first one in which the commoners were represented, we have essentially used first past the post. There have been some multi-member ridings. There used to be university ridings. There were some interesting quirks. There were rotten boroughs. There was a kind of creative variety and dynamism in the Old English system that has been gradually squeezed out thanks to the Reform Act. But it's been squeezed out in favor of this model that we have a show of hands and the ayes have it. And that, it seems to me, you're not going to get a better system because the problem is you don't really have agreement about who should be the candidate, the winning candidate. In many cases, a majority do not support any one person. And massaging the system, having all these single transferable votes and preferential ballots and blah, 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 creates the illusion that one candidate was the choice of more than half of the people, when in fact they weren't. And I think first past the post helps to keep politicians humble by reminding them that although they did get more votes than anybody else, they very probably did not get more than half, and a lot of people didn't show up. So don't get cocky. And that's why, although I think Laurel's is a very good way of dealing with the problem if you meant to deal with it, I don't think we should deal with it. I think first past the post was good enough for William Pitt, and it's good enough for me.
Okay. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, although William Pitt probably represented a rotten borough. But that's not the point. Because John Locke talks about this. He says that when it comes to a primal question, and you don't have a set of rules in place already, you have to just go with a show of hands and the ayes have it. Because it's necessary for a body politic of it's to be one body, to move in one direction. And once it's doing that, you can make more elaborate rules. You know, some things in a legislature can require a 2/3 majority. There can be rules about debate and all kinds of refinements on lesser questions. But who is to be my representative? Who is to stand for me against this juggernaut that we call the state? That's a primal question. So you get together, you have a show of hands, and Jane Bloggs gets it, even if she only got 38% of the vote, if that's more than anybody else got. And we say, okay, you're our representative till next time we meet and vote on this.
All right, then. Thanks for that. Folks, if you would like to play along and ask your question of the professor, go to the URL on your screen and everything there will be explained. Thanks, and see you next time.